Hey, everybody. It's been a long time, but welcome back to our podcast, Dirtbags and Pinstripes, alongside David Swor. I am DJ Cox. David, it's been a while, buddy. It's been a long time since we've been doing this.
Yeah, I have to apologize to our fans and just let everybody know it was me. It was all my fault. It was not DJ's fault. I feel really terrible. Life kind of took over there for a minute with coaching and taking kids 4 different directions. And I know, DJ, you know what that's all about. But, hey, we're back. That's all that matters, right?
We're back, man. Yes. It's been a long time. This is our debut for the season, to be honest with you, I think. I don't think we've done anything in this whole season here. So we got a lot to catch up on. A big-time trade deadline that just happened. Another one yet. Just absolutely crazy with the amount of trades that went down again this year. But, David, first off, I just kind of wanted to kick it off with a little somber note. Vin Scully, man, the absolute best announcer ever, passed away yesterday. I don't know about you, David. When I was a kid, 1986, the first year I started watching baseball, he did the 86 World Series. He did the 88 World Series. So I learned his voice from a very young age. And as I started watching the Dodgers a lot growing up as well, you hear his voice, man. And for him to be able to do that all by himself with nobody next to him, he's the greatest of all time. And when he retired about 6 years ago, I think it's been already, it just kind of felt like baseball had lost something. And now that he's gone, it's lost even more. And what are your thoughts overall on Vince Scully?
Yeah, and like you said, there's no one any better. I watched a little clip that I believe it was ESPN did for him yesterday, and just all the big moments he was a part of, and just a funny thing, DJ, I remember him from some old Nintendo games and Sega and all that. I mean, he was always the announcer on those games as well. So, definitely feel like we lost a big piece of baseball history, like you said. Just a awesome guy, awesome person. Not only a great broadcaster, but an awesome person. So definitely a big loss.
He could tell some stories, man. He would get in the middle of an inning and just go on to a story. And I was listening to the MLB network radio today, and they were talking about one of the things that broadcasters would do is with 2 outs in the inning, don't start a story. Well, Vin would start a story with 2 outs in the inning, and he would somehow finish it before the inning ended every time. So he knew what he was doing, man, and just absolutely crazy. And I don't know, man. I heard him telling a story today. It was absolutely funny. He was talking about beards. He was just talking about the beards that we have on our faces and that men wear nowadays. And he's talking about if you don't really have a beard or anything on there, they're kind of feminine. Pretty cool, man. It was a unique take on beards. Yeah, you have to look that up. That was a good one. He was talking about all kinds. He went in all different. He went to the Bible. He went all kinds of ways on that. It was pretty cool. So you got to check that out. Let's see if you can find Vince Scully talking about beards, and you'll get a good kick out of that. But yeah, man, just the voice of baseball. Really, I love to hear him speak, and just would tell all kinds of stories. He taught me a lot about the game, man. There were some things that he would talk about. I was like, wow, I've never even thought of that. And he just brings it up, and the world will definitely miss him. The baseball world already has missed him since he's retired. But I am glad that he did retire when he did, so he could go home and be with his family for a while. Because, man, no announcer in pro sports, period, had a longer tenure than Vin Scully with his team. So what an outstanding announcer. He is the greatest of all time. I grew up with Harry Carey, Steve Stone, and Vin Scully. Those are the guys that I absolutely loved as announcers. And that's a tough one, man. But he's definitely going to be missed by all baseball fans, not just Dodgers fans. And when you can say that about an announcer, he's really good. So, yep. So, all right, David. So, a few things here, too, I want to get into before we get moving here. Number one, you've had a pretty good summer this summer so far. You came here and saw me and went to the South Side and caught a game, and you went up to Yankee Stadium and saw a game there for the first time, and you're on your way to St. Louis, man. So talk to us a little bit about your adventures this summer. You've been doing way better than I have, man.
Yeah. So in May, every year we go to, not every year, every other year we go to see my sister in Wyoming. And every year we pass that Chicago sign. I'm always like, man, we got to hook up. And so we finally made that happen. I got to explore DJ Chicago at rush hour. So that was a very interesting thing for a guy from a hick town in West Virginia. So that was pretty cool. Actually, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. We finally got our bill here recently for all the tolls that we missed, with a big old fat fee on there for not paying it earlier. So that kind of sucked. But yeah, driving through Chicago, and every like 2 seconds, our GPS is like, get off, get back on, get off, get back on. We could not figure out what was going on. And so DJ had to hook us up on that. But yeah, I really enjoyed the trip to Guaranteed Rate Field right there in Chicago. There was a couple things that kind of surprised me. It was actually pretty easy getting in and out. I mean, it was a little slow getting in, but it was rush hour traffic. So, and then getting out, we were kind of worried. We were by ourselves. We were trying to get outside of Chicago a little bit before we got a motel, and really just got right on. I was kind of shocked. Nobody got shot. We didn't see anybody get shot. No, it wasn't bad at all, but I really enjoyed the stadium. We had some pretty good tickets up there right behind home plate. So that was cool. But real good time. Got to watch them play the Rangers. And me and DJ were talking off air. I still think the White Sox are going to be in this playoff conversation all the way to the end. Then here, probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, me and Reagan Jed, good buddy of mine, we both turned 40 during the pandemic. So it's like, man, we didn't get to have the party and all that jazz. So we decided to go to New York City to catch the Yankees Red Sox, which was amazing. Learned a lot of things I didn't know about New York, DJ. We rode the subway a lot. I walked 22,000 steps on Thursday. 22,000 steps. Yes, it was rough. But got to meet some homeless people that I'm glad I don't have to meet anymore. Got to ride on a subway with about 400 other people in the car, and the guy behind me was completely smashed Red Sox fan. But those are all the bad parts. But we did the Yankee Stadium tour, which was amazing, super cool. Got to watch the Yankees Red Sox. The bad news is the Yankees lost a game that they definitely should have won. They had bases loaded and no outs, and the winning run on third and couldn't get it in. Bases loaded and 1 out, winning run on third and couldn't get it in. So that was kind of sorry. So, and then this weekend, it just so happens we're singing in Missouri. I'm going to go see Busch Stadium, and the Yankees are actually going to be there. So pretty cool. My kids are all huge, obviously Aaron Judge and Yankee fans. So we're hoping to catch some BP if they'll let us in, and hopefully get to meet some of the players. So I'm not going to freeze up, DJ. Don't worry. No Mr. Burrell moments for me.
So, David, you got to tell a story when you and Reagan got off the subway and got in front of the Mets field there. What did you guys do?
Yeah, I forgot to throw that out there. Pretty awesome moment. So on the way back to the airport, LaGuardia, we realized that, hey, there's a stop at Citi Field. And I was like, dude, we got to stop. So we left a little bit early, stopped. It was a complete ghost town. It was super weird. And if anybody's ever been to Citi Field, not in a good area of town. Let me just throw that out there to you. So we walk up to the stadium, and we're just looking in, and I'm going to be honest, it looks amazing. DJ, have you been to Citi Field?
Nope.
I hate to admit this, but it looked maybe cooler than Yankee Stadium. They have the Jackie Robinson entrance, and it looks awesome. But anyway, so we're standing there, we're looking, and these 2 guys walk up that obviously work at the stadium. They got the Mets garb on or whatever, and they said, hey, can we help you guys? Of course, we both have our suitcases with us. So I got my Yankee hat on and everything. And I'm like, yeah, we're looking for the players' entrance. They're like, what? And then that guy says, did you guys just get called up? And I said, yep. I totally thought he knew we were joking. So we go a few more sentences, and Reagan's like, he's joking, right? And he was like, no, dude, we thought you were serious. I really think we could have got into Citi Field, but there would have had to been some questions. I mean, they weren't in town. I'm wearing a Yankees hat. I don't know, but it was really hilarious. So then we get back on the bus, and if we'd have took the subway, we were literally 2 stops from LaGuardia, but we were like, let's just take the bus, whatever. That was a really bad move, and so bad, in fact, that the very next week, I saw that they had a, I guess, reverse racism murder on that bus in the same street that we were on. So, yes, yeah, very sketchy, very sketchy. But
wow.
overall, it was an awesome, epic trip. Me and Reagan had a blast. It was an awesome time. Yankee Stadium is amazing. I mean, it really is. We had great seats in the game, right down the third base line, up the next level. But super cool. Right before the game, we went down. We're down by the dugout. We're able to see some of the players and stuff. So we had an awesome time.
That's really cool, man. That's you're doing a really good job getting to some stadiums this year. That's good to hear. So, David, another really awesome thing that happened to you early summer, late spring is your softball team, man. You guys won a state title this year. Talk a little bit about that, man. Absolutely awesome.
We haven't talked about any of this, have we?
Nope.
Yeah, so pretty crazy. Kind of our arch rivals. There was one Christian school that we just haven't been able to beat. And really, we started to get close, but this year, you could kind of taste it. They got a stud pitcher, and they beat us the first game 3-2, and she scored all 3 runs, or was responsible for them. She had a 2-run homer and scored the other run. We lost 3-2. The first game, we lost, I think it was 6-2. So, I mean, we were starting to taste it like, hey, we're getting there. And so then we get to the state tournament. DJ, it was a monsoon rain the entire tournament. And I'm not joking when I say monsoon, but they were determined to get it in. We were on a turf field. And to be honest, I was ticked off the whole time. I can't believe we were kind of peaking. You could feel we were headed the right direction. I thought, I can't believe we got to play against Cross Lanes as the team in the rain of all things. Well, it benefited us, to be honest with you. But yeah, they're a really good pitcher. We just knocked her out. I mean, it's kind of a shocker, really. And we ended up kind of winning in the last inning. We had, I think it was 13-12, and they had bases loaded and 2 outs, 3-2 count. I'm just thinking, gosh, are you freaking kidding me? We're going to get this close and lose. And their best hitter was coming up next, that girl. And thankfully, my niece whiffed that hitter, and we got out of it. There's a whole bunch of stuff I'm missing in between there. But honestly, it was just like one of the most fulfilling things that's ever happened. We started that program 5 years ago. We've absolutely gotten our butts whooped a bunch. And so to turn that around and to win, and we got the entire team back next year. So, of course, they do too. So it's going to be a pretty exciting year.
That's awesome, man. And that's kind of what I wanted to get at too, is you, like you were just saying, 5 years ago, from that all the way to where you are now, and then everybody coming back, man, that's got to be super exciting as a coach to have that. And outstanding job, man. Congratulations to you. That had to be an absolute blast. No doubt about it.
Real quick.
Yep.
I got to tell you something funny. I can't remember what all we've talked about. My memory's horrible. So 2 outs, runners at first and second, and the ball is smashed to my daughter on third base. Maddie. She backhands it. Perfect throw. The girl's definitely out by a step. Umpire calls her safe, DJ. I go jumping out there like, no. And the only thing that kept me from getting thrown out is I slipped on the wet field and busted. Right on the side of the field. So anyway, I wish somebody would have got that on camera. Nobody got it. Pretty hilarious. But the umpire on the way out basically said if that guy would have took one more step, I was going to throw him out. And the only thing that stopped me was I fell down. So
could you imagine getting kicked out of the state title game that you win?
I'm just saying, and honestly, like, I wasn't necessarily jumping like to be aggressive towards him at all. It was just such a bad call in such a big space. But anyway, DJ, how about you? How'd your season go this year?
We turned it around, man. We had a really rough year last year, probably the worst season we've ever had in school history coming off the pandemic. Um, and we turned it around this year and went 21-16. Lost in our regional final to Montini Catholic, who's a very big powerhouse here in Chicago. Just couldn't hang with them. They were just better than us. But what an outstanding season. We had a semifinal game in the regional that we beat IC Catholic, who we'd lost twice to in the regular season. So we just destroyed them in the semifinal to make it to the final, and then just lost to Montini. So it was really a really fun season. Coming off of two not very fun seasons at all. One that was completely canceled. One that we just couldn't really rebound from everything that had happened. It was nice to get back on track. My guys worked completely hard in the off season leading up to that season, so they put the hard work in, and it paid off. Man, we won a lot of really awesome ball games. We lost two games that we should have won. On the last pitch of the game, we got walked off on the games that we were leading to two teams that were way better than us on paper that we almost stole from them. So we were in every game almost, and it was a lot of fun, man. We won some games we shouldn't have, so to speak, and turned it around. And I lost a lot of seniors, but I've got a really good sophomore, junior class, and a good freshman coming in. So we should be okay. This is kind of the year coming up is going to be kind of a bridge towards the following 2 years, I believe, that we're going to be really good. So it was a good season, man. I was really excited about it. Was really happy that they turned it around, because coming off of a season like that, it can keep going, as you know, man. And it didn't, and it paid off for them. So it was good.
And Lindsay's been tearing it up all summer.
Yeah, Lindsay's doing well. She plays high school ball at the same high school that I played at. She was a freshman on varsity this year. She won team MVP. She won most outstanding player on offense. She was all conference first team. So she had an awesome season. She batted close to 400 as a freshman. There was 7 different times during her season that she broke up a no-hitter by the other team. They had a really rough season as a team, but she fought through it. And there were times where she was batting once or twice in a game. And that's really hard, because if you have one bad at bat, your day is over. You don't get a second one sometimes. So for her to overcome all that and have the season she had, and then she had a great season this summer with her travel team and did really well. So yeah, she's doing really good. She puts the hard work in and is very dedicated to it. So it's paying off for her a little bit there, and hopefully they can have a good season next year as well. Yes, sir, man. So David, yeah, let's get into this, man. It's there's a lot to dig into here, but I'm going to start here with your Yankees. We're going to go right into them. So there's a lot of things that happened here, and I'm just going to kind of turn it over to you, because I wanted your perspective on a few of these things. And the number one thing I want you to kind of talk about, everything else kind of makes sense from a standpoint of what they did. They got Andrew Benintendi, which was a great pickup. They got Frankie Montas, Scott F. Ross from the Cubs. They got him as well. But then they brought in, they got rid of Joey Gallo, which made sense, because I was asking you before what happened to Benintendi. Where does he fit in? Because Gallo was out there too, and obviously Gallo's been terrible. But then they traded Jordan Montgomery for Harrison Bader, man. And I might be missing a move that you can maybe add to this, but give me the rundown of what the Yankees did and your thoughts overall.
Well, let's just start with the last thing you just said. So the biggest head scratcher, everything that they did made total sense until they traded Jordan Montgomery for Harrison Bader. And just to be honest, I don't even know that much about Harrison Bader. I'm not hating on Harrison Bader at all, but he's injured. And the Yankees are thin in the pitching area. And Jordan Montgomery, while not, a superstar, he's a solid, like 3, 4, or 5 starter, somewhere in there. He's always going to give you 5 or 6 good innings. ERA about 3.75 in there somewhere. And like I said, in the Yankees situation, they're already talking about managing innings for like Nestor Cortez and some of these other guys. Garrett Cole's been struggling. They think that maybe he's just kind of out of gas right now. I have no idea what they were doing. So the rumor is they had agreed in principle to a trade for Pablo Lopez. So
Yes.
They felt like Montgomery was expendable, and then that fell apart. So that, I'm just going to be honest, I think it's really going to bite them in the butt, because not only did they trade him, but they trade their entire rotation pretty much in AAA. So Wesneski went to the Cubs. Maybe you can fill me in on. Did you say his name was Frost? Is that how you say his name?
Yep.
I've seen some stuff on him. He looks extremely nasty, but they traded Waldachuk in the Oakland deal, which was probably their best pitching prospect. One service said it was their number 2 overall prospect. So they're putting him in front of either Jason Dominguez or Anthony Volpe. So I don't really know what to think about that either. So I think all that would have been fine. But now you don't have Montgomery. So if somebody goes down, I really don't know what's going to happen. Severino's not going to be back until the end of September. They're talking about putting him in the bullpen.
Oh.
Montas makes a ton of sense for the Yankees. They have him for next year as well, so that's why they were willing to give up some of the prospects they gave up. I believe it or not, I love getting Lou Trevino. He, horrible this year, horrible most of last year, but the Yankees have their pitching coach is a genius, to be honest with you. So I like that move. I like the Frost move, just in the fact that they got another reliever. Gallo, the fact that they were able to get rid of him and not pay his salary was genius. But I am just completely at a loss with the Jordan Montgomery thing. I don't even know how that fits. I know Bader. Hicks has really declined in center field. They don't want to play Judge there every day because of risk of injury. So I know that he's a center fielder of the future, but it's like I was talking to my dad today. Like, we're trying to win right now. And you have a team that can win right now. Why in the world would you do that? So that's where I'm at with it.
Let me play devil's advocate a little bit here. So you got Cole, you got Nasty Nestor. Okay. Now you got Montas. All right. So who slides in at 4 then for you guys in the playoffs, you think?
Probably Jamison Taillon.
Taillon.
He's been up and down.
Over Herman.
Herman probably would be in the 5 spot. And like I said, just to be honest with you, the pitching has kind of slid here in the last month. Nasty Nestor is only really good for about 5 innings now, which, I mean, he's good for his 5 innings, but I mean, that's it. Cole has gotten rocked his last 2 starts. Taillon went through a spell where he had 3 bad starts and 2 good ones, and he got bombed 2 nights ago. Herman, I mean, who knows, what you're going to get out of him. So they should have kept Montgomery, and I'm sure looking back, they probably know that, but it's, once you trade him, it's too late.
Yeah, there was some rumors there towards the buzzer about Pablo, like you said, going to the Yankees, and something must have happened there. I really wish I would have known. Sometimes you just wish you could just hear what was going on between these GMs and just be a fly on the wall when they're talking about this stuff and see what the holdup was and what it ended up happening where they couldn't get him. But man,
supposedly the Marlins were asking for Gleyber Torres.
Yes. Okay. I was gonna say asking too much, probably, right?
That's supposedly. So, like you said, you'd love to be there to know what the thought process there was. And even for Montgomery, man, I would have thought you could have got more than Bader. Again, I'm not hating on Bader, but let's be honest, man. He can't really hit. He's an awesome center fielder, but he can't really hit. So maybe this time next year I'm eating my words. I hope I am, but I just don't like that move. So we'll see.
So, David,
DJ.
70-36 is their record, man. First place, 11 games up on Toronto, who's second, 14 up on Tampa, 17 up on Boston, and I guess we got to throw Baltimore in there, 15. So, be honest, man. I mean, I know, to me, this going into this season, this is the best division in baseball, top to bottom. Baltimore is just blowing my mind with how good they've been. But top to bottom, there's no better division in baseball. Every team's 500 or better. So how are you feeling so far about what an awesome season the Yankees have been having?
Aaron Judge has been historic. I mean, it's just amazing what he does every day, not only with the bat, but in the field. And it looks like turning down that contract was a smart move, but he has been so much fun to watch. The Yankees pitching staff at the beginning of the year was unbeatable. Clay Holmes was just, I mean, think about this. They've done all this without Aroldis Chapman, basically.
Yep.
Clay Holmes has been amazing. Loizaga went down. Chad Green went down, but a couple rookies stepped in. But, for the last month, DJ, the Yankees have been playing 500 ball. They're 18-18 in their last 36 games. And so the cracks are starting to show. I love the Bennett. I didn't even talk about this, but I love the Benintendi deal. That's the guy that I wanted because he's a contact-oriented guy, on-base guy. So I thought that was genius. But it's been a fun season, but I'm going to be honest, I can sort of feel it kind of slipping away a little bit. I mean, maybe they get it turned around, but I don't like where they are right now.
So let me ask you this. It seems like with Bader coming on board next month when he gets healthy and Benintendi now in the mix, so who's the odd man out as far as I know there's a ton of offense there, and there is a DH spot, obviously, but I feel like there's one or two guys that are going to be sitting. And how has Boone managed that? And how has that been working? Who's the guy you think is going to get his time taken away a little bit from him?
Aaron Hicks will be the odd man out. But I'm pretty sure when Boone picks his lineup, it's like this because it's different every single day. You really never can tell what he's going to do. I'll tell you who I think is working themselves out of a job a little bit is Josh Donaldson. Matt Carpenter has been amazing.
Yeah.
And so now you got Carpenter. You're going to have Stanton coming back. You got Hicks. You got Gleyber Torres, and you got DJ LeMahieu. So you've got 5 guys there kind of vying for 3 spots. And LeMahieu's going to play. You're not going to leave him out of the lineup. And honestly, I'm not sure how you could leave Gleyber out at this point. Stanton's going to play. See what I'm saying? So, but I think Donaldson's playing time is going to start lessening. It wouldn't surprise to see him in some sort of platoon role. I'm not really sure how that looks because I don't think Carpenter is really that great at third anymore. They've been playing him in the outfield. So Boone's done a pretty good job managing. I really can't bang on him too much. He's been keeping his guys healthy. That's been the issue with Judge over the years. So Rizzo has been amazing. We'll throw that in there just so you can smile there a little bit. He's on pace for about 40 bombs. Defense has been amazing. Yankees have been a lot of fun this year.
So is your boy going to break the American League home run record?
Yes, sir. He totally is. And I don't know. It's pretty cool. You know how I feel about the steroid guys, but it is pretty cool to see somebody that is not tainted do it. Judge this has probably been, and you went through this with Sammy Sosa. It's probably been one of the most fun seasons. We watch him every night. My kids are up there watching, and he's hit a bunch of clutch home runs, man. It's been a blast.
A lot of walk-offs, too. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's at 42 or 43 as we speak. And 2 full months left in the season, and he's got to get to 61. That's the record still by Roger Maris that he still holds it, which is crazy to think with all the guys that were shooting for those records and did break it. They were all National League guys. So it's crazy to think Roger Maris still holds that record. But he's coming for it, man. It's going to be interesting. He's not going to get to Bonds, but he could get to Maris and break that record for sure, and that'd be something for Yankees fans to watch too. But man, this division, we're going to stay in this division, David, and I'm going to have you break this down a little bit too for me. Toronto Blue Jays. So this is my pick to win the American League this year. I'm sticking with it. I really have a lot of faith in these guys. A couple injuries have kind of derailed them a little bit in their rotation especially. But, man, they sneak in at the last second, David, and get Whit Merrifield from the Royals. And I am a huge, as you know, fan of Whit Merrifield. And I just think that this makes them even more ferocious in that lineup that's already absolutely ridiculous from top to bottom. So what are your thoughts on that one? What a sneaky move there at the last second. And another thing, too, is it's kind of weird. And I don't really want to get into this too much, but he couldn't even go to Toronto when he was in Kansas City because he wasn't vaccinated. And now he's a part of the Blue Jays, so he probably ended up doing it. But, yeah, what are your overall thoughts on that?
Well, I got to ask you a question on this one, DJ. So we were texting back and forth yesterday, and you said you thought Toronto had one of the best trade deadlines of any team. Are you basing that only on Whit Merrifield?
I really am. Yeah, I honestly am. I really think that getting a superstar like Whit Merrifield in that lineup was huge.
You realize he's hitting 240, right?
I do. I understand that. But do you also realize that he leads the league in hits pretty much every year, right?
I'm a huge Whit Merrifield fan, but just looking at the Blue Jays, I don't think. I mean, I know they haven't all hit, they haven't all clicked, but you're also without Ryu. I think he's out for the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, he was killing them. That's the rotation move I was talking about. That's definitely, you're right about that.
So I feel a little bit the same way about them as about Boston. Me and you talked about them a little bit off air. Yeah, you made some nice moves, but I don't think you really addressed. Now they picked up Anthony Bass, and I like Anthony Bass, but they didn't really address the problem. That's just my opinion. I love Whit Merrifield. I see where he fits in well for them. I'm assuming he'll play second for them. That's what I was assuming that he would do, and that's been kind of a whole Kevin Biggio's never been able to take it over. So I get it. That definitely stretched their lineup out and made them a lot better. But I don't know, DJ. I'm not as bullish on them as you are.
Yeah, I was pretty for a while there. I was like, man, they got to do something. And like you were talking about, I thought they would go pitching route, maybe go get a Castillo, that kind of player, just to get in their rotation there for them. Ended up not happening for them. They went with Merrifield, which you can't go wrong with that one. But I did love that trade. I really did. I thought that, and Bass is a good pickup too as well, like you were talking about. Not as prevalent as some of these teams did as far as loading up on players. I get that. But I do think that was very sneaky, and that it definitely makes them a better team moving forward, and will help their cause, no doubt. So David, now let's get into the Orioles a little bit. This is the team out of all of them, to be honest with you, that let me scratching my head more than any other team out there, by far.
In what way? I got to hear this. And we haven't talked about this at all, even off air. So what?
Yeah.
Did you want them to go for it, or did you think that they should have sold more?
I don't understand when you're 2 games out of a wild card, how you just get rid of your best player and your closer, who's been absolutely dominant this year. So let's look at it from the perspective of Baltimore and their fan base and all that. I can't even tell you the last time they made the playoffs. I know it's been a long time, maybe not a super long time, but this team has been really bad recently for a long time. And you're 2 games out of a wild card spot, and you get rid of Trey Mancini, who's your best player. I think he's their best player. I really do. You give him to the Astros, and then you get rid of your closer. And what would you feel, David, if you were in that clubhouse and you're 2 games out of a playoff spot, and they just got rid of your best player for some prospects, got rid of your closer, who's been absolutely dominant? To me, it'd be like, wow, they have no faith in us whatsoever to make the playoffs. They're giving up on us already. They're 2 games above 500 right now, which I know in that division is not going to get them much, but they're right there for a wild card spot. Since we have 3 of them this year, they can get it, man. They really could have. Not anymore. They're not. There's no way. They could have been a little bit of buyers. Hey, let's get a couple pieces here. Instead, they sold. I don't get it. I really don't. I don't understand that move. I'm having a really hard time with it. So talk some sense to me, David.
I read an article before the trade deadline, actually, talking about the Orioles and how they needed to resist the urge to be buyers at the trade deadline, because if you're just honest with yourself, DJ, they're just not good enough to get in the playoffs. And so they were talking in that article about how they needed to sell off the pieces they had and get some pieces to help them next year, keep the core team together, Adley Rutschman, and they got a bunch of pitching to coming up. And it is a tough sell on the fan base. But I'm trying to think of a team that has done this recently in my head, and I'm blanking. You don't, well, the Diamondbacks. Let's use the Diamondbacks as an example. 2 or 3 years ago, they were kind of sneaking in the playoffs. They went all in at the trade deadline. They still didn't get in the playoffs, and they traded a bunch of guys that could help them down the line. That's what you don't want to do as the Orioles. You want to, try to, be competitive this year, knowing, they went in this year knowing they weren't going to make the playoffs. They had almost a 0 chance. They're kind of looking like they're going to sneak in there. But you can't be buyers, DJ, because you're going to trade guys who are actually going to help you when you are going into this playoff run for temporary fixes that probably still don't get them there. So that's the devil's advocate. I'm sorry, Casey Davis, but that's I'm sure that's what's going through the mind. Mike Elias, I think, is their GM. I think he was an Astros guy. They're not playing for this year. They're playing for another year or two down the road.
So the Astros, by getting Mancini, David, have Altuve, Mancini, Jordan Alvarez, Bregman, Tucker, Gurriel, Jeremy Pena, who's been an absolute stud, taking over for Correa, Vasquez or Maldonado catching, and Jake Myers in center field. What a lineup they've put together by just getting Mancini and throwing Vasquez as a possible bat in there to throw with Maldonado, who's been overworked, to say the least, from the catching position. So having two catchers like that is going to help them moving forward as well. The Astros got way better by adding Mancini, no doubt, to one of the teams that will give the Yankees a little bit of fits in the postseason. I believe the only one that possibly could do that is the Astros, to be honest with you. I don't see any other team giving the Yankees too much of a fit. Maybe Toronto, like I was talking about earlier, being the other one. But, so Boston, I know we kind of talked a little bit about this off the air. Boston made a couple moves getting Hosmer, who did not want to go to the Nationals in a trade. Ended up getting him. They ended up moving Vasquez. So they did a few things too, David. And we were talking about this too. They sit at 500 at the bottom of the division. They're 3 games out of a wild card, David. 3 games. And this is Boston, who's their offense, when all healthy and together, is one of the best in baseball. So they kind of hatched a few things. They didn't sell, they didn't buy. They kind of just tried some things, so to speak. So what do you think of Boston's moves?
Before we get to Boston, I got to tell you a stat on Houston, DJ. Houston is the best team in the American League right now, anyway. The Yankees are 70-38. They played the Astros for 64 innings and have only led in 2 of those innings.
Wow.
So the Astros are going to be tough to beat. Boston, I have no clue what they're doing, DJ. In my opinion, they should have went ahead and sold. Their problem has been pitching all year long. They did nothing to improve the pitching, not one thing. Their bullpen is pretty much a disaster. They just got shellacked by the Yankees. The only game that they won was the game I was there. But I really, if I'm them, JD Martinez goes, all these guys that are on 1-year deals, I'm trading them. I'm looking towards next year. And to be honest, as a Boston fan, your GM's got to be in hot water, man. $238 million payroll, either second or third in the league. I'm not sure which. And you're sitting in last place. I'm sorry, not acceptable.
Yeah,
what do you think about it?
I agree with that 100%. When your team's at 500, and we've talked about this for years, David. We have about their pitching, and just Sale went down, broke his pinky the other day. Their pitching is awful. It's trash. And when you can't get the pieces, forget the offense. Like, they just added Tommy Pham too. Like, what are you doing? Why are you getting Hosmer and Pham? I understand Bobby Dahlback has been bad, and Hosmer's an upgrade. I get that. That was a good move. I love Eric Hosmer. Eric Hosmer's a winner. He's a great player. He's currently sitting this year at his career on base percentage of 336. So he's doing what he does every year, still at this point of his career. So Hosmer's a great dude. You want him on your team. Everything. I can't say anything bad about him. Tommy Pham, not a big fan of his personally. I'm not a big fan of him as a teammate, any of that kind of stuff. But what are you doing? Like, get some pitching in here with that offense that is absolutely stacked, David. So I agree. The GM's got to be in some hot water here. They're probably not going to make the playoffs with that pitching rotation, even though they sit 3 back in the wild card. It's disappointing, I'm sure, for Boston fans. Like you said, second highest payroll in the game. What are you doing? You got to do more. There's no excuses whatsoever for that.
You went into the season. Your big pickups on the pitching staff side were Michael Wacha, who's had a good year, but you knew he wasn't going to last, and Rich Hill, who's like 41 years old. And they picked up James Paxton knowing he wasn't going to pitch this year. I just don't understand what in the world they were doing. And then they went into the season really with a shaky bullpen too. And they did nothing to improve any of that.
Very true, man. So going on to the AL Central now, the Twins get Jorge Lopez from the Orioles for 4 prospects. So like we were talking about earlier with the Orioles, they did get 4 prospects and some pretty good ones here in this move. So they're kind of throwing this year out a little bit, saying, "Hey, look what we did get back, though." So the Twins did get him. They added him right at the deadline there. They also got Tyler Mahle from the Reds, man. So and he's got a 2.83 ERA in his last 9 outings, so he's been pitching really well. So the Twins did make some moves to improve there. They're in first place, but they've got the Guardians and they've got the White Sox breathing right down their necks at 1 game back and 2 games back. So, David, what did you think of the Twins' moves?
I'm going to be honest. I think this is going to put those other teams away. I really do. Michael Fulmer, sneaky pickup.
Fulmer, too, yeah.
Lopez is great. Tyler Mahle, we talked about this off air, underrated. I love the Twins moves, to be honest with you. And again, I don't remember all the guys' names and everything that the Orioles got for Lopez, but they got a big return. I'm thinking they got like the Twins' second or third highest rated prospect. So just hang on there, Oriole fans. But I love the Twins. I think that's going to separate them because the Twins or the Indians didn't do much and the White Sox did nothing. So good for them.
Yep, I agree 100%, man. I talked about this a lot in the podcast in the past when the Twins had an awful year last year. I told you, man, I'm like, there's not much that they have to do and they can get right back on track. I really didn't think that they would get this far and this good right away. I thought the White Sox were probably the team to beat in this division, as bad and as hard as that is for me to admit. But, yeah, the Twins, I love the moves they did. I think that they went after a few pieces that they really need. That offense has been great. It's a shame Royce Lewis, their top prospect, got hurt yet again and is out of this mix because he would definitely have helped them. Byron Buxton has stayed healthy for them. That's been huge. We talked about in the previews that he can't stay healthy. And the Twins are going to do well, and they're going to make the playoffs. And as we know, David, the nemesis, the Yankees, will come up and knock them out yet again. But the Twins will be there, man, and I think that these moves help solidify that. The Tigers got rid of Grossman. They were kind of kicking a couple players to the curb here, and the Royals kicked Merrifield to the curb. So not a ton of action in the AL Central as far as moves go. Kansas City, just when you're 21 games under 500, you just have to kind of hope Bobby Witt is you're the guy that you build around moving forward here. And that's pretty much all they have to look forward to at this point. But, yeah, that's the Central. And then so the AL West, David, we talked about Houston getting Mancini. Seattle do much? What do you think about Seattle there? They
got Luis Castillo?
Castillo, there you go.
Yeah, I think that's big. Seattle's been a pretty big disappointment for me this year, just to be honest with you. I really thought this was going to be the year. We kind of saw them separate a little bit, and that hasn't really happened, although we've seen Julio Rodriguez turn into a star, which has been fun to watch. But I'm going to give them a C on the deadline. I mean, they got Luis Castillo, which is big, but they really didn't do anything else. I'm not sure Jake Lamb and Kurt Casale moved the needle. I don't think that Matthew Boyd's going to move the needle that far. So I think they got a really good shot at being in that wild card. Luis Castillo was a good pickup, but they probably need to do a little more.
I agree. Logan Gilbert, Chris Flexen, Robbie Ray, they've been pretty solid up there at top of the rotation. Castillo will only help that. You got a solid 4 there moving forward for the playoff run. No doubt about it there with those guys. Thought they could have done a little bit more as well. But, you know, they're out of this as far as Houston. They're not going to catch Houston in the division. They are up on the wild card right now. So Mariners are pretty solid, man. But like you said, I'm not very impressed with the moves as well. I thought they could have done a little bit more to help that ball club. So David, a couple teams here, and they didn't really do anything at the deadline here. The A's did absolutely nothing in there in the bottom here. The Rangers spent all that money in the offseason. They're 46-58. What is the Rangers' number one problem, David?
Pitching. Yeah, it's pitching. Of course, Simeon and name just slipped me, the dude that hit the home run at Minnesota or at Chicago.
Seager, yeah.
They both underperformed, pretty bad. And honestly, I thought those were weird moves to begin with. I think that's actually a really good example of trying to compete when you can't. They needed way more than those two guys, and they've kind of underperformed. But they need pitching. And to be honest, a couple of the trades they've made, that they've got a really good farm system, so it may not be that far away. But they've got to get pitching. They did smart by moving Matt Bush and going ahead and getting what they could out of him. But I honestly don't think they really had anything else to move. A couple of those pitchers that they've gotten just haven't done anything. I'm trying to think of the guy's name they got from Colorado. He's looked okay. But anyway, they need a lot more than just a player or two. Let's put it that way.
And last but not least, it's been an unbelievable year for the Angels. They come out of the gate in first place, looking like the team to beat in the American League for about the month of April. Go through, I believe, a 13 or 14 game losing streak, and the train just fell off. Joe Madden gets fired. Ohtani was even rumored to be shipped out. Mike Trout's got a bad back right now. Rendon is out for the season. It just gets absolutely worse and worse for the Angels, David. And 44 and 59, I don't get it. I'm baffled by what. I don't know if ownership and GM, it needs a redo, man. This whole thing makes no sense to me. All that money they spend, they're absolutely brutal. And you've got two of the best players in the entire world. And if you throw Rendon in there, probably a top 30, 40 player, I'd say. So you've got three guys in the top 40 offensively, and you're terrible. So what's going on with the Angels, man?
I'm going to be honest. I do think they have a little problem at the top. I'm not going to throw Joe Madden under the bus too bad, but Phil Nevin, who's the manager now, was with the Yankees last year, and he's a lightning rod, man. I wouldn't want that guy around my team. So if I'm pointing out one problem, that might be one. Man, Mike Trout, that I read the article there the day that he was diagnosed. I guess he's got a back injury that he's going to be dealing with forever. It's some sort of, disease or whatever you want to say in his back. That looks like it's just so sad because he's the best player of our time. And now it looks like, he's not going to have those gaudy numbers that we thought he was going to have. He's going to be dealing with that. Ohtani, I wouldn't have traded him either. I think they got him for 2 more years, if I'm not mistaken. He's the only thing worth watching right now.
Yeah.
It's the only way you're going to sell tickets is to keep Ohtani. So I don't blame them for trading Syndergaard. I haven't seen really what the return they got from him. They traded Rocio Iglesias, I believe, to the Braves as well. I think that's what they got to do. If you're GM there, I don't know what you do. I mean, you've got so many holes to plug. I don't know how you plug them. I really like Jared Walsh at first base. Taylor Ward in the outfield, he started out hot. He's been ice cold. But, man, you've got a lot to fix.
Yeah, Brandon Marsh they got rid of too as well. They sent him back into the Phillies, and Mickey Moniak's coming back. And Mickey Moniak, man, I've been following his career a long time. He was the number 1 pick in the draft by the Phillies, and he has been up barely and then back down a lot. Odubel Herrera was starting over him. So I think the Phillies just never saw any potential with Moniak and kind of punted on him as a number 1 pick. What a terrible pick that ended up being for them because he never got anything out of the number 1 pick of the draft. Somebody's getting fired for that move, but man,
definitely.
Whew, that's tough when you're getting rid of a number 1 pick already from a few years ago in a trade for. And no offense to Brandon Marsh, he's a good player, not having a great season this year, and he seems to be a guy that could turn it around and have a good career, but not a number 1 pick worthy, in my opinion, anyway. So just crazy on that end as well. So on to the American League, David. The Braves have been busy yet again at the deadline here. One of the main things they did is sign Austin Riley to a 10-year, $212 million contract. Picked up Robbie Grossman, Jake Odorizzi for Will Smith, kind of an interesting move there in the swap of we need a starter, you need a reliever kind of move. So a few moves there, and definitely locking Riley up was, I think, the main noise that they made here at the deadline, no doubt. But, yeah, what do you think of the Braves this year and how well they've been doing and trying to fight the Mets there in the division?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I love their moves. They probably could have stood to pick up another bat to be honest with you. But Spencer Strider is a stud. I like the Odorizzi trade. The Braves seem to always get the most out of their pitching. Will Smith, had lost favor, and they got Rossiel Iglesias for the bullpen. So I would give the Braves an A, man. They're still a team to watch. I saw a stat the other day, or an article the other day. They have the majority of their team locked up for the next 5 years. So this core group of guys that they've got, I mean,
Yep.
They're just going to get better. They're going to be able to add to them. So, man, I love the moves they made.
And you made the Iglesias move there too. He got traded for Jesse Chavez, who officially is the man who has been traded the most in Major League history. David.
No way.
Yes.
Didn't know that.
Jesse Chavez.
Wow.
He was with the Cubs for a little bit there a couple of years back, and I really like that guy, man. I think that when you get traded that much, you can look at it from two different ways. Well, teams don't want me, or hey, I'm still wanted. So I don't really know how you feel about getting traded that much, but what an awesome stat that is too. Jesse Chavez is on the move yet again. So the Mets have got DeGrom back and Syndergaard back, David. They ended Daniel Vogelbach to the lineup as well. So they seem to be putting the pieces together here for a run. They got Darren Ruff as well from the Giants for a whole haul. The Giants got back for him. So what do you think about the Mets right now?
Philly's got Syndergaard, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So the Mets, DeGrom's like winning the lottery, getting him back. I don't know if you saw his start yesterday. He was throwing 102 again. So, they're going to be okay. Yeah. I mean, overall, I like their moves. I still think the Mets are going to make some noise in the playoffs, which is pretty cool to have both New York teams in there. So yeah, I mean, I think they got what they needed. A lot of it's not real flashy. I thought the J.D. Davis Darren Ruff trade was weird. Did you think that was weird?
I did too. I really did.
I guess Darren Ruff mashes lefties. I believe is why they got him. They're gonna platoon him with Vogelbach. But I just thought that was kind of weird. But I think the one piece they were missing, DJ, and I know we're going to talk about it, and I can't wait. They really needed Wilson Contreras. So not addressing that problem, was probably not a great thing. But the Mets are a team to watch.
They are a team to watch. I still think they're going to derail and fall apart like they do every year. The Phillies did well. They got, like you talked about, Syndergaard from Moniak there. They also had a David Robertson who's turned his career around. Brandon Marsh they got as well. So they're picking it up here as well, getting a few moves there, and the Phillies are going to go for it, David. They're tied for a wild card spot right now. They're 56-48. They did fire Girardi early in this season and moved on from him, and Bryce Harper's been out for a long time now and is hopefully going to come back pretty soon here. So the Phillies are doing a really good job of coming back here. The Miami Marlins didn't do too much. Pablo Lopez was rumored to be on the block. I'll tell you what, man, the Marlins have great pitching. They really do. This team is loaded with talent on the pitching end. It's a shame they don't have much hitting. Otherwise, they could probably contend for the division, but they just don't have it. And then we won't get into what the Nationals did yet until we get into the NL West, because that's all connected in the same. But, David, there's a few more moves here that we got to talk about. Number one was we go to the NL Central. The Milwaukee Brewers. I want your take on the Josh Hader trade. What were your thoughts on Josh Hader getting traded, the number one closer in the game with the top amount of saves, got traded to the Padres for Taylor Rogers, who's number 2 in saves. Dinelson Lamet also went. Robert Gasser, who's the number 7 prospect, also returned to the Brewers. So what was your thoughts on that whole trade?
Well, they're either really smart or this was really dumb. So you remember last year, I can't remember who Seattle traded when they were in the hunt, and it kind of like messed up their team chemistry. You remember that? It was a reliever as well. I just can't remember who it was. But it looks genius. I'm going to be honest. I like it. but I also hate it a little bit if that's possible. Like, man, you're in first place.
Yes.
Hader is one of the best relievers in baseball. Yeah, you're replenishing your farm system. We've talked about their farm system. It's weak, getting one of the better prospects in baseball. Dinelson Lamet has been a stud. You know, he was in the Cy Young voting in 2020. And Taylor Rogers is no joke himself. But I don't know, man. I just don't like trading your closer when you're in first place. What do you think about it?
I've been trying to figure this trade out for a couple days now, man. So I'm looking at it from both perspectives, and what you've got now in Milwaukee is Devin Williams as your closer. Devin Williams has been untouchable for this season. He's got his last 30 innings are scoreless right now. Hasn't been scored on since May 10th. So he's nasty. He's your new closer. You got Rogers there at the back end as well to kind of set him up or play matchup, whatever you want to do with him. And he got Lamet out of it, who I'm a big fan of. I don't know if these injuries he's had recently are going to hurt him moving forward. I hope not. He's still so young. But, you know, if he comes back to anything like he was with the Padres, that's a nasty front-end guy in your rotation now that you get out of that. And last year we kind of talked about this a little bit, how there were rumors around Hader getting traded last year too, and they didn't pull the trigger. It was interesting. Devin Williams kind of took the route of he really wasn't understanding what they were doing. He was upset by the trade. So I don't know if everybody in that clubhouse feels that way as well. But, man, that's just absolutely nuts to see the number 1 and 2 closer get swapped. I see both sides of it. But the Brewers are good, man. And if they want a shot at winning this thing, if you got Williams and Hader at the back end of that game, man, that's his game over most of the time. And I know Hader's been struggling a little bit recently. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he came in last night and got the win on the mound. So they're already benefiting from him. But, man, that's just you just don't see that very much. You don't see two teams that are you know, both teams could win the National League, and they swapped really big pieces. Those kind of trades don't really happen very often. So very interesting trade there.
You wonder how much the Brewers are looking at the Dodgers and Padres and saying, hey, we can't beat them, so we're still going to be competitive. We're going to do our thing, but we're going to replenish here a little bit. I mean, I don't know if that really went into it or not, but you can't blame them for thinking that. I mean, it seems like it's the Dodgers and Padres. I'm going to throw the Mets in there a little bit too.
Yeah.
You know, even the Braves, you know what I mean? You would definitely classify all those teams better than the Brewers. So I don't know. Interesting.
Very interesting. That trade, I think we're going to look back on and kind of see how that ended up going for both teams. The Brewers did also get Matt Bush, like we were talking about earlier. So Bush has been nasty this year. So when you add him to that mix with Rogers and Williams, I don't know. That's the thing that I keep going back on. You got rid of literally the best closer in baseball, but you've got those three pieces at the end. Now you got Lamet and a top prospect in Gasser, who will be up soon as well. So very interesting, man. Very, very interesting trade that was, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one. That of all the trades, that one probably blew my mind the most, to be honest with you, and I'm still trying to figure that one out. The Cardinals were really weird. They got Jose Quintana. I don't really know what they're really doing here. They're in second place in the division. Not much of a noise that they made. They got rid of Bader. They got Jordan Montgomery too. So Montgomery and Q were the two guys they added to that roster to pitch with dropping Harrison Bader. So I don't know.
To be honest, I like the move. I like both of them. You know, the Cardinals have been ravaged by injuries. Their lineup's been pretty good with Goldschmidt and Arenado. I saw where they called Paul DeYoung back up here recently. Hopefully he's gotten it back together. So I actually think those were two sneaky moves. I really like Jordan Montgomery. Quintana, you know, I don't know if that's a aberration or what, but I actually think those were two sneaky moves. They really didn't give up anything for either one of those guys. So I think the Cardinals could make some noise.
Feels like what they did with John Lester a couple of years back, where they just picked him up at the deadline too. That's what they did with Q, trying to catch. You know, Q's been pretty good this year, to be honest with you. So interesting move there, nonetheless. And so we talked about the Reds and everything that they blew up here. So now your favorite part, we get to go to the Cubs, David. So
what are the Cubs doing? So they made the Efros trade. Honestly, that was a good trade for them. I'm going to be honest, I was a little bit bummed. Efros is older, and the Yankees gave up, one of their better pitching prospects for him. So I thought that was weird. I thought it was a good move for the Cubs. But, dude, you have to trade Contreras and Happ. You have to. So what was the thought process there?
So I honestly, all the Cubs really did, David, is like you said, they got him. They traded Chris Martin to the Dodgers for Zach McKinstry, who I really like as well. Who's not a piece that is going to start, but a piece that you can bring in off the bench as a player there. So I don't know, man. They made 3 bullpen moves and got prospects out of it and McKinstry. So I'm always a fan of trading relievers when you're out of it. Get rid of them, get any prospects, anything you possibly can for it. It's fine with me. Robertson went to the Phillies. We got their 27th best prospect, which I'm not sure. I think we could have done a little bit better than that for a guy who's been dominant as he is this year. So that was a little bit of a head scratcher. I did like Frost going to the Yankees for the guy we got there. And by the way, he has a nasty slider too. The Yankees guy that we got, what a nasty pitch that is. I was watching his Wisniewski's pitch there. His slider's filthy, so he can throw that as his strikeout pitch. He seems to be pretty nasty there. So hopefully that's a good trade. I'll be honest with you, David. Last year, as you know, everything hit me like a ton of bricks. And this year, I prepared myself for Contreras to go. I really did. I thought there was no way he's staying. They're going to get a bunch of pieces for him and then maybe re-sign him. But every time you always say, hey, we're going to re-sign, somebody, they never really do that. It kind of always happens where they get traded and then they sign somewhere else or whatever. So that never hardly ever happens. But there was always talks of let's just give him away for a couple months and bring him back. And apparently they were asking a lot. Is what I'm gathering from all this. And Ian Happ, to be honest with you, I never really thought Ian Happ was going somewhere. I just had a gut feeling he was staying for some reason. Could we have got a lot for him? I don't even know, to be honest with you. If people would have gave us a bunch for him, we could have got a haul for Contreras for what people were spending this trade deadline. So I'm really kind of left scratching my head at what they're doing. I don't have a clue, David. I really don't. I don't know what direction they're going. I don't know why we're 11th in payroll. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. We're a top program in the entire world, and we're 11th in payroll. So that's what makes me mad more than anything is we're not spending money. And Wilson Contreras and Ian Happ moving forward may be a part of this. If Contreras may sign long-term here, his defense has been really bad recently. He's been DHing a lot. Jan Gomes is catching a ton here. Contreras, there's not a better arm in baseball, really, from the catcher's perspective, but he's just not been really good back there behind the dish. So he's been DHing a lot. So I don't know if that turned teams off too, as they didn't, maybe his defense kind of shied them away and they didn't need a DH, or I'm not sure what happened there, man, but it didn't happen, and it's kind of baffling, to be honest with you.
Told you before, I'm starting to wonder about the GM there with the Cubs. The returns last year on those trades, some of them were pretty underwhelming, and then to have the best catcher in baseball, not get anything for him, knowing that he's probably going to walk. That's just crazy.
It was crazy. They're 20 games below 500, or they're 41 and 61 at this point. It's been an awful year for us. We're just about ready to fall into the cellar behind the Reds, who started off historically with one of the worst starts in baseball, have now tied us, which is embarrassing. But I don't know, man. It's been a rough year for the Cubs, and I don't know what the future holds, but it's time to start spending, and it's time to start bringing some free agents in. So last and not least, David, we'll talk about this, and we'll end the show here. The NL West, the Dodgers are 70-33. They're the only team that are better than the Yankees in Major League Baseball record-wise is the Dodgers. They've been absolutely unreal. We talked about them getting Joey Gallo, who they just took the money from the Yankees. Great move by the Yankees. Dodgers are probably just hoping to catch a pinch hitter there or lightning in a bottle maybe. I'll tell you what, David, the amount of strikeouts that Joey Gallo has is embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. And I don't know what. I don't know how you stay in the league with how many strikeouts he really has. He has 194 strikeouts and 501 at bats. 194 Ks in his last 501 at bats. He was batting 159. So that's
hard to watch, man.
It's hard
the Yankees, gave him longer than I would have, to be honest with you. He'd have been sitting on the bench a while back because I couldn't tell you how many times he'd come up less than 2 outs. We just need a fly ball, and he strikes out. I think it's 40% of the time he strikes out. And I don't care how much you walk and how good a defense you play. You can't do that. So I hope he figures it out, man. And he probably will, to be honest with you. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they unlock something there with him. He's got it in him. He's got the power and all that. It's in there. So don't be surprised if he doesn't turn it around.
The Giants didn't do much. They moved Darren Ruff. They kept Carlos Rodon, who's rumored to be moved. He did not go anywhere. The Diamondbacks and the Rockies are in the cellar, having some rough years. Didn't do much as well either. Which, last but not least, leads us, David, to the Padres, who made the biggest splash maybe we've ever seen ever at a deadline. So I don't even know where to start here. They added a ton of players here. They most notably got Juan Soto and Josh Bell for Mackenzie Gore, Luke Voigt, C.J. Abrams, who was their number one prospect last year, Robert Hassel, who is their number one prospect this year, James Wood, and another prospect as well. All go to the Nationals, who, by the way, what a great return they got for this. Yeah. The Padres made it, getting Juan Soto and Josh Bell was awesome. But, man, did the Nats do good getting back what they got as well. The Padres also got rid of Hosmer. They got rid of Luke Voigt, as we talked about. So they cleared a couple spots there. They got Josh Hader. They got Brandon Drury from the Reds, who has 20 bombs this year. So they're just adding a ton at the deadline. So what did you think of the Juan Soto trade, the biggest trade that we had this deadline?
Well, kudos to them for making that trade, and kudos for the Nationals for making it as well, because they resupplied, a system that was no good. Mackenzie Gore and C.J. Abrams both have star power. I'm not as familiar with the prospects, but honestly, I thought it was a good trade both ways. I'm sure San Diego will try to lock him up now. But, when they get Tatis back, DJ, are they the team to beat?
So that's a question I was going to ask you too. Man, it's hard to not say that they're
Machado and Cronenworth, and Tatis, now Juan Soto, and their pitching staff, man, very good. So now you got Josh Hader in the back of that pen. I know the Dodgers are pretty scary too, but gosh, I don't know. I don't know who I would take right now if I had to pick somebody.
Just signed Joe Musgrove to a 5-year, $100 million extension as well. He's been dominant as well. It's them and the Dodgers, man. I think it really is. And I don't discount the Braves because they're the defending team to beat there. So I don't know, man. It definitely puts them up there. We saw this at last deadline, how they put a bunch of moves together. It did not work. They didn't even make the playoffs. They ended below 500. But, man, you can, put this lineup out there, and it looks like a fantasy lineup. So they're up there with the Dodgers offensively. They really are, man. And this is going to be a fun team to watch. And I don't think the Padres have been to the World Series since 1998 when the Yankees knocked them out with Tony Gwynn and the boys there. So I don't think they've been there since then. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the last time they made the World Series off the top of my head. So they're going for it, man. They're definitely going for it. Kudos to their GM. He went in and he went all in. He got the best closer in baseball. He got one of the best players in baseball. Josh Bell, who's kind of, not really talked about in this deal, is killing it this year, batting .301 with some bombs and playing really well. So, man, I was hearing this, they added their number 1, number 3, and number 4 hitters in their lineup at the deadline. That's unheard of. So pretty unreal, man.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun, man, down the stretch here, watching all these teams jockeying around. It's going to be a fun end of the season.
It sure is, man. So that was a lot of trades we just went through. It was a fun deadline as well. Again, this year, it seems to be the way it's going to be from now on, man. It just seems like guys are just going to move. Teams, players staying with the same team for a long period of time doesn't really happen that much anymore. But it is a lot of fun for baseball fans, a lot of fun for all of us as well. So that was a little roundup of what just happened there. So David, that was a lot of fun, man. It's been a long time. Get rolling back on this again here weekly. We'll try to start having some guests here moving forward and have some fun with this. So thanks for coming on tonight, buddy.
I enjoyed it, and like I said, can't wait to do it again.
All right, man. So everybody out there, thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe our page. We appreciate it, and everybody have a great night.